And thank you to Desert Financial Credit Union for sponsoring our KRIM Community Spotlight Program. First one of the new year, so Happy New Year to everyone listening and watching. We're streaming on our KRIM radio Facebook page, along with my page and on YouTube. So if you can watch, hey, it'd be great to hear from you. Happy New Year to, again, all those listening and watching. Our first guest of the year just happens to be District 1 Supervisor Steve Christensen. Good morning, Steve.
Thank you. It's an honor to be the first guest.
Hey, there you go. First one of 2024.
Yeah.
I know it's going to take a while to get used to saying 2024, writing it.
Yep.
How many times are we going to probably write 23?
Cross it out.
Cross it out. Yes, yeah, I know. You know, I find it, though, not writing as much as I used to. Checks, I think that's a big thing, is I found when we were writing checks a lot more, when that was more prevalent, that would be the case, writing on the check 2023, you know, last year's year, and having to cross it out, get a new check, whatever. But I don't know about you, but do you find yourself writing?
Yeah, no, I'm the opposite of that. I'm a very analog-minded guy. I still write my checks. I pay my bills through the mail and all of that because I just, you know, for some reason I kind of like doing that. I feel a little more in control of things that way. Where there's not this mysterious transfer of money that may occur that you don't really know if it happened or not, and you have to keep checking on your accounts. And I'm an old school check writer.
That's my brother actually is like that. I think he got that from my dad. My dad would take his checkbook to the store. I don't think he used a debit card at all when he was alive.
Yeah.
And so my brother, he just, for whatever reason.
Well, we don't write a check at the store.
Yeah, he does that at the
You know,
store.
that's pointless. They kind of look at it and throw it away. And
that's how he does it to that extent. To where in the store, going places, obviously if it's, getting gas, he doesn't, but at the grocery store, he writes a check. When he goes to the, Ace or wherever to get pellets or wherever they get pellets over in Sedona. But interesting.
Yeah.
So, hey, a great year, last year, 2023, and you have a nice list of things that you wanted to highlight.
A few things I jotted down, and I'm sure I've missed a few things. But yeah, last year was very busy, and I'm really encouraged about this year being the same way, accomplishing great things for Gila County, the people in Gila County. I believe it's a positive momentum. We're doing a great job. Gila County's doing great. We can always use a few more employees, but other than that, we're able to give pay raises. We're able to get our business done on a trimmer amount of people. We're kind of tighten our belts and really be as responsible as possible as we go through the system of providing things that everyone needs.
So pay raises, you mentioned pay raises, and if we can just talk about that just for a little bit to those maybe, and I'm sure you've heard, I'd be surprised or shocked if you haven't, but as far as pay raises, some residents or some people that when they see salaries or they see the raises and they say, wow, really that much? You have to pay that much? And and if you can just talk about that a little bit and just the environment, kind of how it is, because it's the same whether it's the county, the town, the state, Walmart, Banner, whoever.
All big entities or companies, but even especially government entities, struggle with paying their people. And it's because we have a limited income. If you think about it, we get our money through either grants, taxation, or things like that. And so we have to live within those means. Well, the county has about 600 employees. I'm going to get a cough drop here. So 600 employees, to give them a 1% pay raise is a lot of money. That'd be like $1 million. So, excuse me.
But then, and I guess, and I know we had had these discussions before, the alternative is if you don't.
You have to.
You don't have employees. And what that means for a government entity, for the county, is you don't have people in the jail. You don't have people maintaining the streets. You don't have people at the landfills. You don't have people at Gila County Animal Control. You don't have all of these people doing administrative work.
Those that are skilled with talent in, say, operating big equipment or mechanicking, or, you know, they have talent, they have experience, they can find a job elsewhere that pays more. That's almost always a given. I don't think the county or the town or anybody is ever going to be able to match the private sector. So what happens is the government, the county, then can provide some additional incentives like benefits. So we can help you with your retirement, and that's a big thing. We can help with health care, that's a big thing. And so in the private sector, you may not have those coming to you, so you have to make more money to pay for all that. So it's always a struggle, and so we've instituted some training programs for our Public Works Department, where if you want to come and work for us and you need to drive big equipment, you need a CDL, commercial driver's license. You don't have it, well, it's kind of a big deal to get it. So we can help you with that. We can train you. We can help you on that pathway. And then you can, once you achieve that, then you move up in the system. We have several layers now that we've instituted within most of the departments, where we call it a STEP program or some sort of thing like that, where as you work toward furthering your education or your skill levels or the ability to serve the county, then you can step up into another pay category without it just having to be a longevity thing, to where you've worked 20 years and you know you've gotten a 3% raise every year or something. You can actually achieve a higher step from a regular status to a senior status or something like that. So we've instituted several of those things within our departments, and they're very encouraging. The Sheriff's Department was the first one that I was involved with. They couldn't compete with the other counties when it come to that, and so we would spend about $180,000 training and giving about a 3-year experience to a deputy sheriff. And then because of the pay that we were giving, they would be able to take that training and that experience that we spent $180-some thousand on, and just walk away, go to another county and get paid a lot more. And so then we'd have to start over. And so when you think about that, it's cheaper to give them a pay raise than to lose them. And so we started there, went to detention after that, and we've just been expanding that into several other departments.
That is one of the scenarios that I believe the saying penny wise, pound foolish applies, because if you focus on the pennies or the dollars, the smaller amount, when you look at, well, if we give a raise to, you know, all of our deputies, this is where we'll be at, and if we don't, we're saving all that money, but in the long run, you're losing a lot more if you don't do it because of all the money that's invested in the training, experience, all of it.
I think for many, many years, people have thought that working for government meant low pay and large benefits. And I think that scenario still exists as far as competitive to the market. However, if you don't pay enough, you can't really entice talent to come your way. And so you look at maybe a department head that makes a set amount of money and you say, well, why do they need to make that amount of money? Well, they need to make that amount of money mainly because you're not going to get the talent there. And if you don't get the talent there, then you're wasting whatever you're paying. And so you need to attract the talent and then retain them.
Yes.
And so it's really important that we balance that. And it's a difficult balance.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that we've been really working hard on, and we'll continue to do that.
And what you brought out is all the different factors involved, to where you do have to look at everything that's involved in those processes. And it's not just with salaries, but it's with a lot of areas within government.
Right.
That you're looking at all the different factors and taking all that information in to make the best decision possible.
Yeah, and then you also want to include in that, and this is not monetary, but to have a good work environment. You have to have good morale. There's many things that'll destroy morale. You can do it real fast, real easy, it can be done. But what you want to do is encourage people, compliment people, show respect to people, and give them the sense that you have their back, that you care about them, and that you want them to succeed, and that there's the communication is always there. And then it builds good morale. And then when people want to work for you, they'll work hard for you, no matter what you pay them. But if they don't like you, or it's a miserable environment, it doesn't matter what you pay them, they won't like the job. So it's just one of those things you have to really balance. And so part of my, I guess, personality in that is to be one of the regular people in the county. I have a job with the county, but I'm not some supreme leader that's untouchable and unapproachable and that. So I feel myself as just one of the group. So
there we go.
Yeah.
So there again are a lot of other projects, and
we passed a couple of ordinances this last year. Okay, so ordinances is not something that I want to be passing a lot of because I feel government's already big enough, but we have a couple of issues that really needed to be addressed, and one of them was the wildlife feeding ordinance. And really what that means is the wildlife meaning big game animals such as elk and deer, javelina, those kind of things, to just be overtly feeding them on purpose. And so we had a lady that was killed that I believe is in the Williams area, that while she was feeding an elk, and she ended up being killed by the elk. So they can be very dangerous. And so most of the problem is really in the northern part of Gila County. It doesn't involve squirrels and birds and hummingbirds and that sort of thing. What it involves is the larger animals, and what that can do is attract danger into the communities, especially during calving, when they're having their babies, and all of that. Then they get very defensive, and we've had quite a number of people really injured in pine strawberry over the last few years over that. So it may seem like fun and all of that, but really we said we gotta put up an ordinance that says no more, don't do that, because it also attracts negative animals into
predators.
the area. Yeah, oh yeah, you can get then coyotes or skunks or whatever, cougars, all that. And so you don't want those in your community. So yeah, so we instituted that, and we feel that was a good thing. And as far as I know, we haven't had to even enforce it. So it's there in case someone is doing that. But, all the Airbnbs, which would be my next ordinance, all of the short-term rentals were, not all of them, many of them would actually provide food, and it was part of their advertisement. Come feed the elk, stay at our place. So the other ordinance that we did was concerning short-term rentals, sometimes called Airbnbs or Verbos, that's a company name. And so these are weekend rentals, that kind of a thing. And we have I think we have about 1,800 of them in the county, and I would say about, I heard 12 to 1,500 are in the northern part of Gila County. And so that's a good economy, brings tourism, brings money to the area, helps the homeowner. Many of the people that own the homes now, it's sort of turning into a business. Many people are purchasing homes, multiple homes, they may not even live here. And then they run this essentially kind of like a little hotel in the neighborhood. And so the state is the one that regulates this, and it's been allowed for a long time. Just recently, the local communities in the county were able to get their hands in on it a little bit and they said you can regulate them, you can't eliminate them, but you can regulate them and do some things to help the impact. If there is a negative impact, and there is in some areas, due to maybe only a very small percentage of the people that actually run these Airbnbs. However, we went ahead and we pulled together an ordinance based on many other ordinances that are throughout the state. So what we're going to be doing, it'll be a permitted privilege, and you'll have to pay for the permit once a year. And then it also sets guidelines as to how many people can be in that house. We will have a database of who owns the home, so if there's a problem we can call. We can say, we have a problem It's a recurring problem. We can institute fines if it becomes a real nuisance. And so my concern is not so much for the people coming up to stay in those or the people that are trying to make a business out of their home. My concern is all the other constituents that may feel an impact, a negative impact, that live in the area. So I think of myself, I personalize it, and I think, well, if I lived on a street, and let's say it's up in the Pine area or whatever, and it's on a dirt street, and then you have added traffic, you have added dust, then depending on what's going on in that home, you may have added noise, you may have added fire danger because they're, whatever. They may be doing donuts and running ATVs up and down the street all the time because these people come up to play and they're having a great time. And so I would have to say that probably most of them are just nice, quiet guests, but some are not. And so we have to have this ordinance. And so we did. We instituted that actually just recently. So that'll be kind of starting to go into effect as we roll into 2024.
That is good because, excuse me, there needs to be some control.
Sure.
That the county, the town, the city has when it comes to the short-term rentals. And as you said, there are definite benefits, and we don't want to not acknowledge those and give the impression that we don't care about those positives.
Oh, we do.
Yes.
Tourism's a big thing here.
And when you have a community where there are a limited number of hotels. So
Right.
the limited number of hotel rooms, so in Pine and Strawberry, where I think there's just really one, I think, up there. Two, the Strawberry Lodge, the
Yeah.
one in Pine, the new Lodge 5600. So yeah, maybe a couple, two or three.
Right.
And that's really it. So where do people stay if they want to go visit and
Right.
stay in that area?
Right, they want these little cabins and they want to experience the thing, and so they come and they spend money and then they go home and it's great as long as, it
Yes.
doesn't create problems, so.
Yes. Yep. And that's where these ordinances come into play. So that's great.
That's it, yeah, so far that's the only two ordinances we've done. I don't have any other in the queue. We don't have any other need for them. So an ordinance is not law, by the way. Legislatures are the only ones that can create law. So it's sort of a regulation, it's an ordinance, it's something that can be challenged legally. If you feel that your constitutional rights, your civil rights have been violated because of this ordinance, you can take us to court and all of that. That's the legal, that's your, as a citizen, you're able to do things like that. So as we work with community development, with our permits and with the various things that we do with building and all of that, those are all challengeable. Whether you would prevail is another story, but there's always the access of saying, I have a special case and I need to get a variance or a conditional use, or I need to have some consideration made in my case. Well, then you can do that too. And you can go before the Planning and Zoning Commission and plead your case, and then it could eventually come to the Board of Supervisors where we would decide in your case to make a special exception because of special situations. So that's always available. And I did that here in the town of Payson many years ago with our home. I wanted to add on to an existing garage. It was kind of a carport, but it was all part of a building. And I wanted to make that a little deeper by about 10 feet. But back when my house was being built, they did not do the proper setbacks. And so the building that contained my garage actually went from property line to property line with no setback.
Yeah.
Well, the setback's supposed to be, I think, 5 feet or something. And it didn't make sense to me that I would have to add on to my garage and create this 5-foot hallway down my property line where I wanted, so I asked for a variance to get my garage to coincide with the already existing issues and the already existing building. And so I had to apply for that, spend a little money, the 300 feet contact radius. public input. Then the Planning and Zoning Commission, I remember they actually came out to my house, looked it over, and they granted me the variance. And so,
There you go.
yeah, it's been great ever since. So that's, now, you know, we're getting close to finishing that bridge down in the Tonto Basin.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that's coming
Yeah.
right along. And so there'll be more of an update on that. For the last couple of years, I've been working on those flashing speed signs that you see on occasion, like when you go into Star Valley and a few places in Payson. Well, I wanted 4 of them, one at each entrance to Pine and one at each entrance to Strawberry. And so, working with ADOT and working with the county engineering department, we are going to get those. They're not there yet, but they are on their way. It's just having to go through a permitting process with the ADOT and the locations and all of that. And we're also going to do some enhanced signage and some things at the crosswalk right there on the highway in Pine. You know, when they have a festival up there, there's, oh my goodness, if not hundreds, thousands of people that come up there.
Oh, yeah.
They're all walking along the edge of the road, they're all crossing, and the highway gets very slow, people get impatient, then they try and pass on the right or something, and somebody's gonna get hurt. So we're gonna add a little safety as far as signage goes and try and enforce that, so people, a little child or something could easily be run over. You don't want that, so.
Oh, no.
And the landfills, we're really working on our landfills. So, in fact, yesterday at the Board of Supervisors meeting, Homero Vela, who's in charge of the Public Works Department, spoke on the landfills, and we're going to be putting out a proposal for the cost of someone coming in and looking over both of our landfills. We have one in Globe called Russell Gulch and one here called Buckhead Mesa, to evaluate them, to give us ideas and suggestions on how we should manage those landfills as far as the growth of them, as far as the expansion of them, as far as the recycling aspects that could be instituted to help preserve the landfills from being filled any faster, or you know, that they would have longevity, and also the viability of recycling, at least at some level, to keep those materials out of the landfill and not lose a bunch of money trying to recycle. So it is what's called an enterprise in our government. So it's almost like a business. The landfills are a business in the county, and so we want them to be earning or breaking even. Not really making money, but breaking even, may store a little money away for the future expansions. So we don't want to run it in a deficit or run it to where it's just costing. So that's why we charge to put your items in the landfill. But if we start instituting things that we're not doing, it could add to the cost. And so we have to try and balance all of that out. And I would love to see some recycling occur, keeping things out of the landfill, being able to reuse material, being able to compost if we can, and work on those kind of things and see how expensive that is. So I'm excited really to see what this study is going to do.
And that could be, again, you won't know until you get that data back from that study, but it could be an example of possibly spending a little more money up front, or there being a slightly higher upfront cost, but then in the long run, having savings or benefits that justify those costs.
That's right. And you know, as we go forward, people produce a lot of garbage, you know, we do. And so we have to take care of it, keep it clean, keep it out of our water table. And so that's all expensive to do. And so we're right now working with the Forest Service to purchase 320 more acres at Buckhead landfill. Now that 320 acres, right now that landfill is only 80 acres. So 320 acres is going to last, you know, till the next coming of Christ, you know, that kind of deal. And that's fine. Let's plan for that. Let's buy that. Let's do that. But we don't want to just haphazardly say, well, now look at all what we have. Let's just fill it up. We do want to be responsible. And part of that is to there's a compaction issue with landfills. So when you throw things away in the landfill and they run over it with bulldozers and they try and crush it all, there's still a certain amount of air gaps and it's not, you know, completely crushed. And so that uses up volume.
Gotcha.
And so they're looking at shredders where they could run all the trash through shredders and turn it into a smaller product, and then it would compact better. That's an option, while also keeping certain materials out,
Gotcha.
like say maybe cardboard or you know other things. Right now we're keeping brush out of there.
Yes.
It used to be you dump brush and everything else in there, and so now we're actually recycling the brush. The people from Snowflakes come up and grab it and shred it and burn it to create power, biofuel. And so not only are we able to get a little bit of money when someone brings it out to us,
Yeah.
we're able to recycle it into a power source.
That's
We
great.
just pile it up out there, so then they come twice a year or so.
And that does seem to make sense with a shredder, how you get a smaller byproduct or
Right.
smaller
Just grind it
product,
all up.
grind it up, and
Yeah.
then it could be compressed and compacted even more.
Yeah, so which would stack easier with less air gaps, sand or boulders? And that's kind of the
concept,
analogy.
huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're already putting metal aside, so metal is another thing that we're already recycling. So,
Yeah, there we go. So, a lot of great things happened last year, and with the landfills, what I really like, you know, when you're sharing that information, is the vision, and looking forward, not just looking at an immediate fix or how can we fix this. In some situations, yes, if it's a severe, something that has to be dealt with right away, you have your immediate fix, but then you should always be looking to the future.
absolutely, Chris, and you know this as good as I do, that that's what our job is. The Board of Supervisors, I believe, is to be visionary and not just mechanical, going through a meeting saying, well, you're required to vote on this, you're required to approve this process or this contract or this expenditure, you know, we have to buy these cars or whatever. And so that's all part of the process of what we have to do to keep everything legal. But the visionary part is, what are we going to do with the sheriff's department? What will it look like in 20 years? Is the building that they're in right now the right building? Should we be looking for another building? When we remodel the court over here, and I mean the old building, not the new building. When we remodel the court, we're going to put in, are we putting in sprinklers? Are we going to put in an elevator? And so the elevator is going to be very costly, and so yeah, that's one of those vision things. If we don't put in the elevator now, we save money, but later, will we regret that?
Oh, yeah.
When the elevator costs 3 times more and somebody else puts in the elevator that's going, why didn't they do it back then?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so that's the kind of thing you have to decide, and that's where the vision comes. And so you have to, we have so many great workers in the county that are doing the nuts and bolts. It's my job to assist them in that and also provide the future for that, so that we can continue on. Our dirt roads that we maintain, which is hundreds and hundreds of miles, would cost us much less if they were paved. Well, we can't afford to pave them, that's extremely costly. But we're always seeking grants in order to get money to do that. And so those are always in the queue. We're already going to be doing some paving this summer. It's not going to pave the hundreds of miles, but it's going to be a little here, a little there, a little more. And as we continue to do that, the maintenance goes way down on a paved road. And it's much safer. And there's no dust. And, you know, there's just many benefits.
Yes, yes. Well, it's that time.
It is?
10:30.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
Great.
It
Well,
goes quick. Always goes quick.
yeah, we've been doing a lot more and that, but we're just going to continue on. I really appreciate everyone's support, and everyone have a happy new year. I'm really encouraged for this coming year.
Yes, as am I. There's great things that are happening in the county and Payson and our community. So
Absolutely.
It's really good.
It's a wonderful place to live.
Oh, amen. Well, time to get back to the music here on KRIM with some Emerson, Lake and Palmer, John Cougar, The Cars, and more. But first, let's get a quick update from the National Weather Service. You guys have a wonderful, blessed day. Thank you.
With this morning's KRIM weather forecast for Payson and surrounding areas, I'm now meteorologist